everyone. Hi, this is Bruce Muffson, LCSW, once again from Surrender, Nevada, coming at you with some more downloads and information. As you can see the topic behind me, Chester Bennington, we all know who he was, but I want to talk about the reflection of his life and death. I'm going to talk about his music briefly. I want to talk more about Chester as a person and what he meant to me, and also for his fans that are grieving over his loss and how to cope with it. I also want to talk about a friend of mine that passed away recently as well, what his death meant to me, and again, to kind of reflect on what death means to all of us as we all come closer to that expression of life and death. Here we go. All right, Chester Bennington, March 20th, 1976 to July 20th, 2017, was the lead singer of Linkin Park. And let's face it, he put out some fantastic music. And some of the albums he put out were Meteora in 2003, One More Light in 2017, and Hybrid Theory in 2000. Just one album after the other, just knocking it out of the park. Here's the thing, though. I did not realize the stress and turmoil and trauma he underwent as a young man, as a child, actually. Chester was born in Phoenix in 1976. Mom was a nurse. Dad was a police detective who, oddly enough, worked with child abuse cases, sex abuse cases, and often worked double shifts. I'm going to say that now in a second why a little bit odd, because we'll talk about Chester a little bit deeper. His parents divorced when he was 11, and Dad got custody of him. After the divorce, Bennington started abusing marijuana, alcohol, opium, cocaine, meth, and LSD. At the age of 17, Chester moved in with his mother and was banned from leaving the house when it was discovered his extensive drug activity. He worked at Burger King before starting his career as a professional musician. He was physically bullied in high school. In an interview, he said, "I was knocked around like a rag doll at school for being skinny and looking different." Okay, now, just to reiterate, they sold more than 10 million copies of Hybrid Theory, which had the mega hit in the end. Also, the 2003 multi-platinum Meteora. Both albums, though, if you listen to them again, which I did, they expressed a lot of feelings of frustration and fury, and that's what he was known for. His songs were like pain, like boom, boom, boom. He didn't let up. He struggled with drug addiction and alcohol addiction at various times during his life. He said he'd been sexually abused as a child, but here's another thing I didn't know about. He was homeless for months before the band actually found fame. Now, another thing also was that, again, he was friends with Chris Cornell, who committed suicide in mid-May, 2 months before him, actually, very close to him. Now, according to The Guardian, that was just a magazine he was talking to, Bennington says that he was the victim of sexual abuse by an older male friend as a child. It escalated from a touchy, curious, what does this thing do, into full-on crazy violations, he told Kerrang! In another interview in 2008. And here's where he goes about this. "I was getting beaten up and being forced to do things I didn't want to do. It destroyed my self-confidence. Like most people, I was afraid to say anything. I didn't want people to think I was gay or that I was lying. It was a horrible experience. The sexual abuse continued until I was 13. He eventually told his father about the abuse, but declined to pursue the case when he learned the abuser was himself a victim. As he said to The Guardian in another interview, 'I didn't need revenge,' he told The Guardian." So he had a difficult childhood. Here's another thing also. The abuse and situation at home, with the divorce, affected him so much that he felt the urge to kill people and run away. To comfort himself, he drew pictures and wrote poetry and songs. And he finally, when he revealed the abuser's identity to his father, he didn't want to pursue it because he's found out that the abuser was also a victim. Now, he becomes, famous through his music, Linkin Park, album after album, boom, 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 millions of copies. He gets married. He's married more than once, but here's what happens. He was harassed his wife by a cyber stalker named Devin Townsend for almost a year. Townsend was found guilty of tampering with the couple's email, as well as sending threatening messages, and was later sentenced to 2 years in prison. So on top of everything else, he's being cyber-stalked by this lunatic who's not letting go. Emails and threatening messages that was scaring the heck out of his wife, whom he had children with, of course. Very, very scary. Now, going back again to the Chris Cornell thing, Bennington's death occurred on what would have been Chris Cornell's 53rd birthday. And close friend, Also hanging, same thing, same situation. Both hung themselves, and he was very emotional when he sang a song in One More Light in Chris Cornell's honor. Also, Bennington sang Leonard Cohen's song Hallelujah at Cornell's funeral, and he was also the godfather of Cornell's sons Christopher. So very, 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 very close to Chris Cornell. Now, I want to clarify something. I wanted to talk about long-term impact of sexual abuse on people, what it does to them. So I took an article from American Counseling Association, and it was called Long-Term Effects of Childhood Sexual Abuse, Counseling Implications by Melissa Hall and Joshua Hall. What is going to happen to you when you're molested as a child? What's going to happen to you as a young adult? And as an adult, where do things go? You deal with levels of depression, guilt, shame, self-blame, eating disorders, somatic concerns, anxiety, dissociative patterns, repression, denial, sexual problems, and relationship problems. Here's what happens to you and what you take with you. You feel worthless, you blame yourself. You take personal responsibility. You feel your body is dirty and ugly. I created it, I started it, I must have wanted it. Somatic, meaning you have pain all over your body, somatic. Pelvic pain, gastrointestinal problems, headaches and difficulty swallowing, and the swallowing because of what could be done to you, and pelvic and gastro, your stomach, it makes sense. The pelvic by the vaginal area, by the penis area, gastro, stomach issues, and then difficulty swallowing. Long-term stress. Long after the experience is over, you still have that long-term stress. They did a study of PTSD from guys who survived Vietnam and adult survivors of sexual abuse, comparable. That's how intense it is to be molested as a child. Disassociation, feelings of confusion, being disoriented, nightmares, flashbacks, difficulty expressing feelings. Denial and repression, experience amnesia, feeling they should forget the past. Relationships and sexual issues, it's hard to establish them. Issues with trust, fear of intimacy, fear of being different and weird. Sound familiar, right? Having good boundaries and getting involved in abusive relationships. So common. Long-term issues with sexual functioning. Intimacy is not pleasant or exciting. As a social worker, you got to look at various factors, such as coping skills, help with sense of control. You work on creating an alliance to help your patients feel safe. Help the persons feel safe and empower them. Let them express and vent anger and how to define a healthy relationship. Okay, now, let's talk about Mr. Bennington, Chester Bennington, what he was going through. Right? How do we honor Chester Bennington and what he did? And not look at his suicide, but look at him in totality in his life and what he went through and what he was dealing with on a daily basis to get to this point that he felt there was no other option but to kill himself. He left behind a wife. It was his third relationship. He married before, had a relationship with someone else, but he had 6 children, and he left behind a wife who was grieving. She publicly said, I lost the light of my life. And you have children that grow up without their father. Number one, how do we honor and look and reflect on his life and death? Except first, we don't know what goes on in a person's life. We think we do, but we don't. You don't know. Accept the fact that he was in a lot of pain and it affected him. Also accept the fact he wasn't weak, he wasn't a coward, or think he should have gotten it out of his system. That's a myth. It's not a broken leg. You recover from it. You carry this stuff. These are scars you carry through the shrapnel for your own, realistically, your whole life. Even with counseling and medication, people still suffer, and they can suffer for a very long time. Here's what he dealt with, though. Here's what Chester Bennington dealt with. I didn't realize this until I went through a lot of articles. He was not just abused. He was often bullied, had drug and alcohol issues, had his parents divorced, was homeless, was stalked, he and his wife. There was never any break. He was dealing with a lot through his life, a lot with his life, and then 2 months ago, his good friend also hangs himself. That'd be devastating to him. Appreciate that he was a survivor who did the best that he could. And he displayed that fury and frustration in his music. He literally would blow you away with his voice. As one article said, he thought it was coming out of a guy twice his size. That's how much he brought to the table. Appreciate, like we talked about Prodigy, the great music he left behind. And when you listen to it, watch your video, think of him and how happy it will be to him that you are listening and that you're enjoying yourself. Finally, I'm talking about Chester Bennington and what he went through, and we're sorry, and our thoughts go out to his family, his mother and father, and to his wife, and to his children, his current wife, and his prior wife. It's terrible. But also realize, for those of you watching right now, we put out over 50 videos. If you are in such a situation as him, get help. Don't keep it in. He kept it in until he finally told his father. And his father was working on child sex abuse cases as a detective. You see how hard it is, that stigma. Get help so you don't feel that suicide is the only option available. Life is too precious, and you don't ever want to feel you have to hold it in or, God forbid, protect someone that's abusing you. You owe the abuser no apologies. And in closing, it does not make you weak to admit, it makes you strong. Don't keep it in. Don't lock it up. Don't brush it off. Don't say it's going to get better. It doesn't make you weak to testify or let someone know. It makes you strong. The abuse has to stop. Any of you watching this, please listen to the last point. Now, on 7/4/17, a close friend of mine, wasn't a musician, wasn't a rock star, wasn't anybody famous. His name was Phil, okay? He was a close friend of mine. He's not a young man. He had medical issues. Much older than me, but I enjoyed his company. Why? He was very open-minded. He was curious and a big support of what I'm doing with these videos. In fact, I was going to send him my first piece of content, which is coming out in a short amount of time. He was looking forward to seeing it. He wanted to watch it and really understand what I was doing. I would share stories of my work and what I was doing, and he would encourage me and say to me, Brucey, because he called me Brucey, you're not the average social worker. And you hit the nail on the head. Always praiseworthy, always complimentary to me. Big supporter. He was never mean-spirited or angry, and he looked for the best in everyone. And made sense that he was a former New York City school principal. Got along with everybody. He was a father in himself. He had adult children. But to be honest, I would have wished he would have been my dad. The dad every kid needs growing up, and we've talked about it over and over again. Having someone in your corner that's stable, that's appropriate. He was always full of compliments and praise in general. He was a role model for me and someone I looked up to. Not just as a friend, but as a mentor. Don't have him anymore to talk to. I got phone call now, but I got his number. Who am I going to talk to? He's not there anymore. The same void when my mother died. Now, with everything on the phone, I have hundreds of names, and I have names of people that have passed away. And I scroll through them sometimes, and I remember them. I'm like, my God, did this happen a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? Now Phil's number is there, Phil's name. I don't have him to call anymore. Wish him a happy holiday. Wish him like a happy July 4th. Hey, how you feeling? Getting any better? Get out of bed. Hope the doctors work out with you. It's gone. Don't have that don't have that relationship anymore. I'm less of a person for it. How will I remember and honor him? By thinking about all the positive times we spent together in person and on the phone, and how much I enjoyed his friendship and counsel. Not how he finished his life, but how he lived it, and how he impacted everyone that he met and came into contact with. Rest in peace, Phil. You'll never be forgotten by me. And now I have much more respect for Chester Bennington as well, what he was coping with every single freaking day, and how he had to get through that. It wasn't like it ever ended. You know, this. Being stalked, being married, how frightening that had to be for him and his wife and his kids at the time. How terrible. So what I'm trying to get people to realize is, look at the positives, look at the greatness, enjoy the moment. And if you find somebody you appreciate, let them know how you feel. Hey, I thank you. You're great. You're wonderful. I'm glad you're in my life. Don't be afraid to give praise. Don't be stingy on that. Because once that person is gone, they're gone. Why am I dressed up for the first time in a tie and a shirt? Went to a funeral of a co-worker, close friend, liked her a lot, great worker, great friend, passionate about what she did. Gone. 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 Just like that. Got sick. Boom. I miss her. I'm going to walk past her area at work. I'm going to look at that thing. I'm going to think, she's not there. Not there. Someone's going to replace her, but it's not the same. That's what I'm trying to get across. Think about it. Last piece. What I've been doing lately is asking people who are watching the videos to give me their thoughts on things that have happened in their own life. Let me know how about somebody in your life, good or bad, I do a lot of the bad, impacted you and the way, positive or negative, and we can talk about it. Share with me someone in your life that was positive, that made your life better, or negative and made your life worse, and I will dialogue with you. And just like Prodigy, just like Chester Bennington, just like my friend Phil, the person that passed away today, don't think about how they finished. Think about how they lived their life, what they gave you, what you want to get from it, and the enjoyment it gave you. Appreciate you watching our videos. Give us your comments. Give us your thoughts. Again, we want to hear from you, Sunridge of Nevada. Thank you.